You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Whoa. I just had a really messed up nightmare. The Oilers gave up 6 to the Blue Jackets, and McDavid got hurt.
Wow.
God damn. Let's get into it with the lead. You thought things were going bad last week. Hello. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday, live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online at sportscloset.ca. Yeah, last night stunk.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a shame, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
Again, you kind of felt like comeback win over Detroit. Okay. This team's got their mojo back. Let's go to Pittsburgh, where for some reason the Oilers play historically awful.
In Columbus?
Yeah. But it was kind of like they got their mojo back. They're starting Stu, so they saved their starter for the second of back-to-backs, which is always a risk, right? Because, you know, bird in hand, that whole thing. But they went Pickard. He played good against Detroit. You get to Columbus, you're thinking, okay, they're due for a win in Columbus. They're back on track. Oh, my God. Oh, no. 30 seconds in, McDavid's limping. It's okay. I'm sure it's just a skate issue. Oh, no, he's not coming back. It's, you know, precautionary. Maybe there was just some swelling and oh, no, he's flying back to Edmonton. Okay, well, they're only one game under 500. Not that that's the bar.
They were 500 yesterday.
Can't get this mic stand to sit.
I think it's because you're on a wire.
Yeah, okay.
Wearing
a wire.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, look, like, obviously the game was terrible. And I'm not going to make excuses for them because they don't deserve that. But third game in 4 nights, you're on the road. It's not, the game blown out is not pretty by any means, but like losing that game, I guess maybe we should have predicted it a bit more that they would have been a little worse than what they were. Like they had to work harder against Detroit than probably they should have. That was a pretty physical game. You got to overtime, but they were quite frankly terrible yesterday. Skinner didn't do very well in the first period.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you know what I mean? And then offense on the other side was Lickens made a few saves when they needed him. And I mean, for a goalie that had an 8.59 or whatever it was going into the game, like he looked pretty good. But yeah, Skinner wasn't his best yesterday, but quite frankly, no one really played that well in front of him either.
Yep. Robin is in. Flames fan. Could be worse. Could have lost 5-0 to the Knights. I would argue this is worse.
Yeah.
We lost 6-1 to the Blue Jackets and McDavid's hurt.
There's been the Blue Jackets are kind of a sneaky team. Like you mentioned it last week when we were talking about.
They score a ton.
They've put 6 past Montreal, Toronto. They've put 6 past Colorado, which quite frankly, the 3 of us might be able to put 6 past Colorado at this point in the season.
Yeah,
so it's not been great for them, but like maybe they are a little bit underrated, and you know they got some players. The Oilers, quite frankly, should not have lost 6-1. Before the game, watching the game, yes, they probably deserve to lose 6-0.
Welcome into Oilers Nation Every Day. We are live on the Oilers Nation YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. There is a lot to get to from that hockey game last night. Louie DeBrusk is going to join us in 15 minutes for his weekly appearance on the show. Very happy we pushed that a day because now we have like 8 more things to talk about with Louie. But first, listen, we got a lot to get to, but let's start with our moment of the game, and it is for our friends at Prime Monday Night Hockey. It's on Prime. It's here. It's the exclusive home for the NHL on Monday nights in Canada. Edmonton is making their Prime Monday Night Hockey debut coming up next week. They're taking on New Jersey. You can watch Prime Monday Night Hockey on Prime Video at no added cost through your membership. Just check out the sports section when inside the app. If you don't have Prime right now and you're like, wait, I want to watch the game next Monday, Edmonton, New Jersey, there's a link in the description of our episode that will get you a free 30-day trial. Students can get a free trial for up to 6 months. Prime Monday Night Hockey. It's on Monday.
It's on Prime. You know, yesterday, sorry, I'm going to get into it right now. But I was saying like, hey, Monday Night Hockey, New Jersey, Edmonton, maybe McDavid's going for his 1,000th point. Oh. Not going to work out.
No.
Actually, might. We quite frankly do not know, but probably not. And we can assume no.
I think we can assume no. That is the moment of the game. It's Connor McDavid going down with his injury, and we'll get to all your comments in the chat in a bit. But again, like a fairly innocent looking play in the sense of like, it was a trip. I am not sitting here and telling you that like that was a penalty for sure. But
penalty.
It wasn't like McDavid was coming in as we run it back and credit to Sportsnet for the highlight. It's not like he was coming in full speed. It's not like he wound up in his own zone and was zipping and then crashed into the end boards. Like think about when Barkov got hurt a few weeks ago, right? It was like, whoa, that looked bad. He was laying on the ice. The trainers came out. Like McDavid, again, pops back up, goes for a little skate. When you watch that replay, you definitely see his ankle got jammed into the boards a little bit, but like he pops back up. He takes a couple of strides before realizing that something is not right. And then he goes off. And honestly, like I do think, Aaron, you were talking about this before. I know you hit on it, obviously, on After Dark last night, but like the initial reaction, I think Stauffer even kind of said it on the broadcast, like, this might be an equipment thing. Like maybe his skate blade came loose. And that's why, again, he like got up and was like, okay, I probably can't skate on that. Obviously, we know that is not the case at all. But this was the moment of the game, not returning. And then you get all of the reports that come with it. You get the doctors on Twitter and all of that kind of stuff. I know we had heard from a few people, not that serious, but Knobloch says after the game, he's traveling back to Edmonton. They're going to be cautious with this. And that obviously is the right move here. Like as much as we are worried about a team that is one game below 500 and just got smoked by the Columbus Blue Jackets, you need to remember it's October 29th. This is a long season. And at the end of the day, this roster should, and we'll get into this, but it should be good enough to win some games without McDavid. Another angle of this is why you need to rack up wins when you can. The Oilers over the last couple of years have been a remarkably healthy hockey team.
Yeah, totally.
We've made the point a bunch of times that like their blue line specifically, they are so lucky that over the last 3 seasons, they've basically dealt with no significant injuries on their blue line in the regular season. And even the ones that happen in the playoffs, it's guys playing through them. Up front, I know McDavid wasn't 100% all of last year, but he played 77 games or whatever the hell it ended up being. And outside of Evander Kane, everybody else has been incredibly healthy. So you need to win when the going's good, because now you're staring down the barrel of what could very easily be a handful of weeks without your best player. And guess what? If you go and only win 2 of your next 7 games because you don't have Connor McDavid and things just got that much tougher, you're going to be 6-10-1. And that's not, and I know whatever, I may be being a little bit too extreme here, but like, would you be stunned if the Oilers went 2-5-0 without Connor McDavid? No, you wouldn't be. And you look at these numbers, the PK sucks, the power play sucks. They're giving up a ton because their goaltending has not been good. And for some reason, they can't score. And the new guys they brought in, except, with Jeff Skinner excluded, aren't playing well. Guys who were good last year aren't playing good. Like, it's a lot of bad right now. And then you combine that again with McDavid going down. And sure, maybe this is some sort of a wake-up call for this team, but based on how they reacted last night, I'm not sure how you can be overly confident that it will be a wake-up call for them. The wake-up call was Connor McDavid going down the tunnel, and in turn, they totally collapsed against Columbus. Nugent Hopkins on the Oilers missing McDavid. Yeah, I mean, of course, he's our leader. He's also the best player in the game. Of course, you're going to feel it. We got to do a better job of stepping up like that when a guy goes down, though. So anyways, I've kind of said my piece. It's obviously concerning, and not in the sense that we're sitting here wondering if he's going to miss months. It sounds like early reports are it's weeks, but still, based on what we've seen from this team through 3 weeks now, I have very little reason to be optimistic this will be a turning point for them.
I don't know. I feel like I get it, but I feel like you're kind of piling on him a little bit too. Like, it cannot get worse for them, quite frankly.
Well,
at the end of the day, you're looking at a top 6 that isn't scoring goals outside of McDavid and Draisaitl. So really, like, we're going to be like Draisaitl. Everyone's going to be like, Draisaitl needs to carry this team. He does. He's going to be that best player. But guys like Hyman, Nuge, Arvidsson, Podkolzin, like, those are the guys that need to step up and figure it out. Like, even last night, you kind of could see the frustration from Knobloch, I think, in a way too, with the power play unit of the second unit started a couple more times than what the first unit was doing. The second unit was the one Ekholm got the goal, and granted late in the game, but I think that's going to be kind of the key here is like the power play needs to figure out what it's going to do. And the special teams is going to be the big difference for me. It's like those guys have essentially been the reason the Oilers have been losing so many games. Like we can sit here and pile on the goaltending, which again wasn't good enough last night by any means, but special teams, what does that say? 27th in the NHL in power play and dead last in the NHL in penalty kill. That's got to be the difference for me. Those two have got to figure it out. But this team has the pieces to survive without McDavid for a little bit. And if they can kind of, I don't even know what would be satisfactory. Like if they can somehow get above 500 without him and get on a bit of a run here and this team can gain some confidence, which is what I'm going to kind of go off is like, how long is Hyman not going to score for? How long is News not going to get rolling for, right? Eventually, those guys are going to figure it out. Granted, it's not ideal that McDavid's on here, but once those guys get going, they can wrap some wins together without McDavid, however long that will be.
Yeah.
Maybe that gives McDavid a little extra runway to be like, okay, team's doing well right now. We can give him these next 2 games off, whenever that may be. And then we don't have the same situation as last year where like, kind of get to the end of the season, McDavid has to sit out a few more games and you get into the playoffs and he's still not 100%. It takes him a while. And that's kind of, I'm trying to be a bit more optimistic about it. But I mean, I totally get it.
It stinks. I'd rather it happen in October than April, but that's just me huffing on copium. That's just,
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate the optimism, and I get what you're saying, where like, and I'm usually one that's on board with like, hey, they're due. I just look at Zach Hyman not scoring, Nugent Hopkins not scoring, Arvidsson not scoring, and I'm going, are they going to start scoring now that 97's out? Like, it's getting harder for them to snap out of their slumps now. And I get like, they're eventually going to score.
But there's no choice. They have to score.
Well, yeah, if the Oilers want to win, but like,
and
Stuart Skinner has to make a save, and the blue line has to be better. But like, it's you can't just say that. Like, it's harder to do it.
But that's what needs to happen. Those guys, they have no choice now. They have to step up and go. And playing in Nashville, a building that you've done pretty well in recently, going up. And I mean, look, like if there's one team you want to play against in the NHL when McDavid's out and you have Leon Draisaitl, it is the Nashville Predators. So choosing to be optimistic because, quite frankly, we have no choice.
Copium.
Okay, let's get in because the chats are on fire right now. You obviously want to dig into this and give your take, so let's do that. Our YouTube chat is brought to you by our friends at Odd Company. We are pumped to be partnering back up with Odd Company to bring you the all-new Nation Beer. It is called the Nation Beer Everyday Lager, whether it is for game day or whatever day. Nation Beer. Make it your next drink of choice. Shout out to our friends at Odd Company as well. They started as a small batch brewery focused on creating experimental and exciting beers. Over the years, they have grown. It is all about good beers and good times, and they may have gotten a little bit bigger, but they are still Edmonton's odd choice for beer. This beer, the one right in front of me, it is very darn good. Give it a try. Go to Liquor Connect, find a location near you. There are so many comments for us to go through here, but let's go back to some of the early ones that we got right before we went live. AJ, not to throw a tinfoil hat on, but there's no record of a charter plane landing in Edmonton yesterday or today. Yeah, no. After the Ohtani thing,
We're not tracking planes anymore.
I don't track planes anymore. Davin, Connor McDavid did not get 8 points last night.
We spoke about that too.
Daryl, Draisaitl can lead this team if McDavid is hurt long term. Rest of the team just needs to step up. Saying the team is screwed is a bit premature. And I agree with that. Like, I am not trying to sit here, and I know Lance, our boy who's back from his vacation, welcome back, Lance. I know Lance was saying, like, try to be optimistic. And, like, I see the path. Like, I do. Arvidsson starts to play like himself again. Jeff Skinner and that third line can maybe stay together and give you a consistent source of offense. But the point is, you look at how this team's played over the last 10 games, and listen, if there was ever a time for Stuart Skinner to, let's be honest, do what Stuart Skinner has done each of his first 2 seasons in the NHL, what he's done is at some point he goes on a 3-month run where he's a top 5 goalie in the NHL. And people are going to sit there, roll their eyes, and be like, "Oh yeah, Yaremchuk's glazing Stuart Skinner." He was ass last night. I'm not sitting here and being like, if we were to go through all the goals, there are very few where I go, that one's not stoppable. Like, Stuart Skinner was bad last night. Stuart Skinner has been not great. He's been bad to start this season. The numbers speak for themselves. But he's started poorly a handful of times now, and his numbers always find a way to get back to average, or last year above average, because he goes on extended runs where he's red hot. If there's ever a time for Stuart Skinner to do that, it's absolutely right now. If there's ever a time for Zach Hyman to start scoring like he did last year, not that I think he's ever getting back to a 50-some goal pace. I think he's a high 30s, low 40s guy, which is still great. He's $5.5 million. It's a great deal. But if there's ever a time for him to start scoring, it's now. If there's ever a time for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to actually show he can play center at the NHL level still, it's right now. But the point is, you're sitting here on a lot of hope. And that is, again, the concerning part is there is never a guarantee that certain things bounce back. Stuart Skinner might not get hot until December.
Well, Stuart Skinner had a 9-14 outside of the Winnipeg game going into the last night's game.
Yeah, but
which leaves you to be optimistic that he will be okay. But last night, again, was terrible. He did not play well. And you can't have that every 6 starts or whatever.
It is just one game, but it's look like Vezina 27 save shutout Friday, ECHL yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is too, like, everything that could have gone wrong last night went wrong. Like, I sent out to is I don't even want to see this team playing special teams right now. I just joked before the show. Is like, if someone goes to the Oilers get on a power play, just tell them we'll sit someone. We'll play 4-on-4, whatever it may be.
Brian is in. Top line should be Draisaitl, Hyman, and Skinner or Arvidsson. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're waiting news on who the Oilers are going to call up. I know some people were saying, then it was actually brought into the chat. If I didn't switch past or fly past it, we could talk, or I could give him credit, but it's a top 6 injury. Based on the severity, how tempted are you? I know Noah Philp earned the right to be the first call-up coming out of camp, but you need help.
Yeah, I know.
Matt Savoy has 4 points in 6 games. You acquired Matt Savoy thinking he could step into the NHL probably at some point this season. Are you not mildly tempted to go, yeah, okay, let's bring him up and saddle him next to Leon and see if we catch lightning in a bottle for 2 weeks? Because that's what's going to help you ultimately get through all this.
I thought about that too. It depends what you want, right? Like, if you think you can push Henrique up the lineup and have Phil play, because I don't think Ryan can go up and play 3C. The Philp would have to play 3C.
Yeah.
But if you do you want an extra scoring? Because like you said, you're not getting it. And I don't know. I do think they'll just go with Philp.
I think it's the safe play, yes. And someone says 4 points in the AHL. Okay, well, that's all we have to talk about is his AHL numbers.
What do you want him to do?
What do you want us? Anyways, not great. Not great. We're going to do a Shirt for Giant question later on. We'll do like our kind of what is your lineup without 97 thing. Maybe we'll find out at some point during our hour today who the Oilers have called up from the minors. But for now, let's continue the big conversation we're having and head out to the Star Mechanical guest line. It is Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can check them out online, starmechanical.ca. 97 going down. That is a full-blown emergency. Something happens at your house. That's an emergency. Star Mechanical's got you covered. Heating, cooling, residential, commercial, they do it all. Starmechanical.ca. Excited to welcome back our boy Louie DeBrusk for his weekly appearance on the show. Louie, last night was ugly for many, many, many reasons. There was a game, it was a few seasons ago, and it was against Pittsburgh at home. They were losing. McDavid got hurt. He went down the tunnel, and Leon Draisaitl had like 3 amazing shifts, and the team turned it on, and they came back and won that hockey game. Last night, it was the other end of the spectrum. McDavid went down, and that was an abysmal effort from the Oilers. And I guess I'll just start with that. How disappointing was it to see the team maybe not use that McDavid injury as a bit of a rallying point? They were just flat.
It was a hard game to watch, hard game to call. I'm not going to lie. You're watching and waiting for something to kind of happen and maybe turn it around. I think that the Columbus Blue Jackets were really opportunistic. 3 goals in the first 6 shots. And you know what? That deficit was pretty hard to overcome from the start. But yeah, I thought there'd be a little more digging. I'm not going to lie. We saw some shuffling at the end of the game from Chris Knobloch. We saw some shuffling amongst the deep pairings from Paul Coffey. I mean, they were trying to find something, trying to find a spark to try and get something going. But I think combination of things. Number one, back-to-back situation. Come from behind win in Detroit the night before, an emotional win on Leon's birthday. They fly, they get into Columbus, a building they have not played well in recent years. It's been a terrible place for them to play. but they just couldn't seem to find it. And you were looking down the lineup going, okay, who's going to be the guy that kind of gets this going? I know that Draisaitl hit the post. They had a couple good chances there. The power play didn't create a whole lot until the power play goal at the end. They had 6 power plays in that game. That could have been the difference maker again, which we've talked about all year long. I don't want to put it all in the power play, though. I don't think that's necessarily fair. I just don't think they competed hard enough, and they just weren't sharp. They weren't connected. So Columbus is a young, hungry team. They've got some guys in there that get excited to play against Edmonton, and it showed in that situation. And they dominated that game for the most part. Didn't have a ton of chances now when you look at the shot clock, but I think it was safe to say that for me, it was the second opportunities. There was just no scrums around the front of the goaltender, no second opportunities, no rebounds. It was kind of a one and done night for Edmonton, and they just couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, and like they did, to be fair, in the second period. Connor Brown, you mentioned the post by Draisaitl, but Connor Brown had that kind of half breakaway shorthanded. If that one goes in, how do things change? If the power play can get going, I know, like you said, you don't want to put it on the power play, but this is a team that in years past has had games like that where they get 3 or 4 power play opportunities in the second period, and it's bang, bang, and they've come back in the hockey game. So it's
a weapon,
just nothing's working right now.
It's true, and it's been that way this season, and I know it's kind of taking on a little bit of water now, and even more so now that Connor is out, and we're not sure how long it's going to be, but isn't necessarily good anytime he leaves the lineup because he's not a guy that misses a lot of games. So when he leaves and goes down the tunnel and doesn't come back, we all kind of said, okay, it's obviously something substantial enough that he's going to miss some time because we've seen what he's played through. We've seen what Draisaitl's played through. We've seen what Darnell Nurse has played through. These guys will play through a lot because they know the importance that they are in respect to the team. They're very responsible that way, and they don't miss a lot of games. They don't want to miss games. So for him to go down the tunnel that early, 37 seconds into the game, that 3-0 opportunity by Connor Brown shorthanded, though, Jack and I both kind of lifted up kind of in the booth. Like when that took place, we're like, this could be the turning point here. If they score this shorthanded goal, it's a 3-1 hockey game, and that'll give you some sort of life to kind of dig in. And you're waiting for those moments in a game. I mean, for me, I ride the emotional roller coaster of a game like fans do, like the players do. We're right in the mix of it too, and we're trying to see what situations are going to maybe turn the game around. That would have been the game turner for me. But, credit Merzlikins, he made another good save. Brown didn't finish, and the rest, as they say, is history. But that would have been the opportunity for me, especially a shorthand dagger, a 4-minute power play. It was like, okay, they score here. This kind of turns things in their favor. It just wasn't meant to be. I think that's a game last night, guys. I know nobody's going to want to hear this, but I think you take the game sheet, you rip it up. You obviously have to work on some things and start to put some line combinations together in the absence of Connor McDavid that you feel can get the job done and go to work because you're going to be playing a real tough Nashville Predators team on Thursday. That's not the same team you played a week and a half ago. This is the team that's starting to find their way. Their big guys are starting to score, and they're going to be a different team and very motivated.
There's a lot of conversation about the power play, and I think that's an easy question to go to now, especially since McDavid's going to get changed out. They've got to find someone for him. But I wanted to ask you about the penalty kill. Like, they're winning a lot of draws on the kill. It seems to be going well for them there, but they're so bad right now. They're last in the NHL. Like, what are you seeing when you're watching these games that's going so wrong for them when they're out there short-handed?
It's incredible, but it's the same thing that happened last year. If you look at the start of last season, they couldn't keep a puck out of their net on the penalty kill. It was just, it's a wave right now where they're kind of caught in between, I guess is what I'm seeing. The times that they're aggressive and they get on the power play aggressively and they close and they have good sticks and they're picking off passes and making that puck bumble a little bit, they're killing off penalties, that portion of the penalty kill anyway. They're getting it down the ice. It's when the opposing team comes in and kind of makes that one play to force the penalty kill to kind of go from being aggressive to, we've got to get back into position now. And I find in that little bit of a transition, it's just, there's just not a real good sync there. And there's some little lines that open up. And when you give power plays lines, as we've seen with this power play in Edmonton so many years, if you give them that little inch, they'll take a mile. And that's what's happening. And right now, every time they make a mistake or every time there's a play to be made, it's being made right now. And that's just the nature of the beast. And sometimes you think it's never going to end, but they just got to buckle down. They've got to be a little more in sync. I know that for Chris Knobloch, he's talked about same thing. When one's going out, that transition of going out and in, you have to kind of be timed properly in order to make sure that those seams are being closed to the best of your capability. You're never going to take everything away. But they're giving up way too good quality of chances on the power play. It's one thing to give an outside shot through a screen, a deflection, 2 guys in front, that goes in the net. You're like, hey, That's the power play. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes the puck goes in. But redirections in the slot, like we saw last night with Monahan, grade A chances from the slot, anything around the net that's not being taken care of. That's the one area, in my opinion, on the penalty kill that you can condense down, and you get 4 guys. I know you're outnumbered. Most of the time, the 5th guy's not coming down into the mix, or even the 4th guy for that matter. So you can outnumber in front of your net, and you can make sure it's really difficult to come up with loose pucks. And I think that's it. I think they just need to really buckle down and protect the house, give the shots from the outside. I do believe they can block more shots, and I made a point of that last night in the telecast. Darnell Nurse had a nice block right in the middle of the ice, and Adam Henrique had a second block on the penalty kill. And that's absolutely necessary. If you want to be a penalty killer in today's National Hockey League, you have to be a good shot blocker. It's a skill like anything else. You have to get in the lanes, and you have to make it really difficult to bring a puck to your net. That hasn't happened enough for me. They need to be a little more committed to making it more difficult that shots get through. So a couple of things they can work on there, and they are going to work on them. They figured it out last year, and they changed it. They're in the same kind of run right now as they were last year at the start of the year, though, as far as the penalty kill goes. And it took them a long time to kind of right it last year. They're going to need to right it pretty soon here.
Yeah, I'll hammer a couple cliches out here, but they do always say your goalie needs to be your best penalty killer.
100%.
And when you look at the leaderboard right now, shorthanded save percentages, Calvin Pickard has a 500 save percentage when the Oilers are shorthanded. Stuart Skinner has a 760. Pickard would be the worst amongst qualified goalies. Skinner would be the 7th worst. But also, another cliche, it's a bit of a chicken egg thing, because it's like, okay, does the penalty kill stink because the goalies aren't making a save? Or like you said, are they just allowing way too many shots in the middle of the ice, way too many passes to hit the seam? And what do you expect the goalies to do? They can't stop a wide open backdoor pass. So that is the frustrating part too, is that now it's easy to pile on the goalies, but I do think there's more context that needs to be added. But there also is no denying, like, Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard have another level that they need to get to.
They need to get saves, period. You want to win hockey games, you need to get saves. I mean, Merzlikins made some saves last night. I don't think he was tested greatly, but he had to make a few difficult saves in order to keep the momentum in his team's favor. The times they've gotten those saves, they've won hockey games, Edmonton. When they haven't gotten those saves, and again, I'm not going to put it all on goaltending, but it's a major part of it, and especially on the penalty kill. It's the old, another cliche is you're only as good as your goaltender on the penalty kill. Simple as that. Like, I mean, if your goaltender's making saves, it doesn't matter what you do out in front of him. He can kind of save the day for you. But I don't think I think you need to dig in. I think everybody needs to dig in. If you're giving your goaltenders, like I said earlier, a little bit longer shots that they can see, you expect them to make those saves. 100%. Are they getting all those saves? No. Some of them are still going in. So that needs to be cleaned up. That's obviously part of it as well. For me, though, I always remember back talking to Shea Weber when he was with the Nashville Predators. And, you know, Pekka Rinne was just a staple there, obviously, for over a decade. And he was one of those guys that, you know, he looked like he wasn't ultra quick in his movement. It wasn't like he was making these dramatic saves. He was a very positional goaltender because he was so big. But I remember Shea Weber telling me, and same thing with Suter, saying if we let him see the puck, so our job in front of that net is to let him see the puck as much as possible. Our job is to take care of everything else. All he has to do is focus on the shooter. We make sure people are out of the way. They were like bulldozers in front. If you remember the way they played back then under Barry Trotz, it's the same way they're probably going to start to play now under Brunette. They want their goaltender to see the shot. They want their goaltender to be able to make the save. And if you give him that opportunity, he should make that save. So little things like that. But right now, I know I heard your opening coming into this conversation. There's a lot of things that aren't going well right now for Edmonton. And you can't fix them all in one game, but you can certainly move forward and start to dial in some different aspects of the game. And listen, I love their game in Detroit. Didn't love their first period. I mean, obviously that was maybe their worst period of the season. But I love the stay with it and the grind in the second and third period. And right now, especially without Connor McDavid, that's the game they have to get to. And there were small portions last night that I felt they got to it. It's got to be a low, in my opinion. You're not looking for run and gun. You start opening up, even when you have Connor, yeah, you're going to get your grade A chances, but you're going to also give the opposition some chances. On transitional plays back and forth, when you're slugging it out, going toe-to-toe, it's exciting hockey, and Edmonton can play that way. They're very dangerous, but you're going to take on one, you're going to give chances also on the transitional play from the opposition. What I liked about the Detroit game is they literally shut Detroit down. They said, okay, we're just going to start putting pucks in behind. We're going to start winning the wall, and we're just going to go to work, and we're going to find goals. I'm loving the traffic in front, liking the shots from distance and those kind of goals. I think those are winning type of goals and goals that we see a lot in the postseason. And what I also think it allows them to do is to control the game. And now without Connor McDavid, I think it becomes even more important. Manage the game. When we talk about managing the game, it's not just about, dumping pucks in and dumping pucks in. It's about making it so that your teammate can get to the puck first. It's putting pucks into areas. That's a skill like anything else. I mean, I think people think that grinding in the corners and cycling and playing off of one another is just like meat and potatoes hockey. Well, those little tiny subtle plays you have to make through a skate, through a stick, put it in the corner, put it across into the next corner. If you watch the top players, especially when Draisaitl and McDavid go at it, they're constantly evaluating where they need to put that puck so that somebody can skate into it. And you're doing that with 10 people in one zone with a goaltender. It's not easy. Those are very skilled plays you have to make, but Edmonton can play that game. That's where I feel they can win hockey games, especially when they don't have their top player. And I'm expecting them to play a little bit more like that. Just control the game a little bit, try and have a low event game where you're working for your opportunities, looking to score goals. And if they do that, I think they can grind through this. And I don't know how long Connor's going to be out, but that to me is the template. Even with Connor, when they get to it, they're a really hard team to play against.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, I think a lot of outsiders, at least I should say, look at the Oilers and go, Connor, Leon, Bouchard, they score on 2-on-1s and breakaways. But when you look at the playoffs last year, their success was grinding you down. They are a possession team at their core. When they're at their best, it's because they hold on to the puck more than you, and it's harder to score on them. The best, let's keep going with the cliches. The best defense is a good offense. That is what they are when they're at their best.
Well, you look at the game last night, and they just didn't do that. They weren't spending enough time in the offensive zone. They had some shifts, don't get me wrong. They did try and dig in, and I think that it was an emotional game. When you see your top player go down, Connor doesn't miss a lot of time. It does have an effect. I've been there. I've been on benches when your top player's gone. Everybody's looking around going, oh, well, now we're down to 11 forwards. You're going to have a lot of shuffling of the lines, and some guys are going to get more ice time. Some guys are going to get lost in the shuffle. And it does really disrupt your bench when you have a guy that's literally on the ice for over a third of the game. So it's a little different in that perspective, but they weren't sharp in making the plays. And that's what I'm talking about. When your game's not on, then you can't play that way. You can still dump the puck in. You can still aggressively forecheck. But if you're not making those subtle little plays that maintain the pressure, that allow your teammate to get to a puck first, that leave it to a 50-50 battle and win that 50-50 battle, it's going to be a long night. And I just felt there wasn't enough of that last night. Very perimeter. And I think that's something that they're going to probably work on tomorrow in practice, get to the inside. I mean, let's face it, this game is all about getting to the inside. You're constantly trying to get to the inside in both zones. In the defensive zone, you're trying to keep the play out to the outside. In the offensive zone, you're trying to penetrate and get into that inside as much as possible. And the job of the opposition is to keep you to the outside. That's the entire game. It really is. And you have to want it more. You have to want it more to get inside on that defenseman, get a better body position on him, and stay there and force yourself into a good spot. The veteran guys, Corey Perry, just watch him. He'll slither his way into a spot. He'll somehow slinky around a big defenseman and get himself into a spot right around the blue paint. I think that everybody can take a little page from that. It's work. You have to work to get to that inside, but that's what the game is all about.
What do you think the best call-up would be now for the Oilers? Do you think they bring up a guy like Noah Philp, or do you go more offensive with a guy like Savoy?
Home run swing would be Savoy.
Yeah, I mean, they're not scoring, right? So maybe Savoy?
I really like Noah Philp's camp, and I liked him in exhibition. To be honest, I think in different times, in a different situation, he probably earned a start. That's one of the guys, very few that have done it in Edmonton, in my opinion, over the years that I've covered the team, that have come in probably as a dark horse, not really on the radar, that walk into camp and play the way he plays. There's lots to like about him, though. He's big and he's fast. He would right now, he might be the fastest guy on the team. Like, I mean, with McLeod, with Holloway, with Fogle, guys that have been lost over the course of this last calendar year, he might be one, if not your fastest forward. I mean, he was flying in camp. So they can use the speed. They can use the side. He's a center. I know he could probably play wing too, but he's a centerman, and that's what he played in camp. I liked it. So he would be my natural selection to potentially come up if they do indeed call people up. But yeah, that for me is the first guy. As far as Savoy goes, though, it's an intriguing proposition because there's no question he's an elite talent. There's no question he thinks the game at a high level. What would he be like with maybe some higher end players? You've now had someone come out of your top six. So I've always felt, and this was something back in the day when I played. I used to apologize to my centerman. Danny Briere was one of them. Ralph Inchernovo, when he got called up to the Edmonton Oilers one time, he was playing the fourth line with me, and I'm like, hey, sorry, you get called up. You're an offensive guy. You've been an offensive guy your whole life, and you got to play with the slug on the left-hand side on the fourth line, which is me. So, but it's not like that anymore. When you lose a top six, typically you go and try and replace that top six. You want to bring somebody in that potentially can have an impact, at least in your top nine. I think Philp fills that, and there's a couple other guys down there. Savoy certainly fills that in an offensive perspective. I think they want him to have some more time. He's still a really young guy that needs to learn how to play the game at pro level. So I don't know if they want to rush him up. We'll see. You know what? Whoever they decide to call up, if they do decide to call people up, come up. It's a great opportunity early in the season. It's not that far gone from training camp to kind of come in and get your feet wet in the National Hockey League. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how long Connor's going to be out. Obviously, there was some reports that he's going to head back to Edmonton. So he's not going to be available for Thursday. Let's just say that. So, you know what? They're going to have to do something. They only have 11 forwards, and we'll see what they do.
And Knobloch traditionally has not liked going 11-7, so I'd imagine we are going to see a call-up.
Yeah, we're kind of expecting it. We'll find out more, obviously, tomorrow at practice. It's a day off for everybody today, and sometimes it's a perfect time for a day off after a game like that. You win a big game on Leon's birthday, the night before you come into Columbus, and we all saw what happened last night. Like I said, I'm not saying not take anything from that game, but that felt like a game last night to me that as a coach, you go in there and go, okay, we still got work to do here. Obviously, we're working every single day, but we're not going to beat these guys up over this game. It was a one-off. Everybody seemed to be a little bit out of it, with the exception of, Zach Hyman. I don't know if he can create more chances. The puck's going to go in for that guy. I'm saying it right now. He scores Thursday against Nashville. That's why it's time. He's getting too many chances. He's around it too much. And then once he gets one, you're kind of thinking that the floodgates will open up, or it'll just be kind of what he does. He's not getting rewarded for all that hard work. And that's where sometimes I look up at the hockey gods and go, really, play the right way, do the right things, and it doesn't work your way. Well, it's going to in the long run. He's just got to work a little harder for it this year. But they're going to need something, right? They're going to need some guys to step up, some guys that haven't been on the board yet. They need more offense from everybody. I'm not just talking the top six. I'm talking everybody. Third line, it's been great with Henrik and Brown, that combination, but they each scored in the same game. Need to spread that out again. They need to start getting on the board. They need everybody pulling even more on that rope without 97 in the lineup.
Louie, enjoy your off day in beautiful Nashville. We'll chat with you again next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
There you go. Sportsnet analyst Louie DeBrusk, former Oiler. I like his line about being a fourth liner too. That was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
Funny.
I think it'll be Philp. Here's my hot take. Philp comes up. He's done in the American League. He's not going to go back down. And that is a two-pronged thing. One, it is because I am a big believer in Noah Philp as a player. I think he is one of those unicorn guys, 6'3", right shot centerman. We talked about this with Jason Demers during the preseason. Like, he just thinks the game so well. It's the reason why he could take a year off. And I know I phrased that a little weird. Why after a year off, he could slide into being in NHL exhibition games and not look out of place. Like, he is a wicked smart player who checks a lot of boxes for what this team needs. Another thing, Grava says it. A whole bunch of people have said it. I have no problem calling people out. You guys know this. Send down Ryan. The dude isn't doing anything. I think if we get, and again, where I think the Oilers, and this is something I've complained about a lot, they don't give their young players enough runway to learn and play through mistakes. If Connor McDavid is going to miss, let's just say 2 weeks as a vague generic number, then you are going to be forced to play Noah Philp. Let's say it's, again, this week, all of that next week. You're going to play Noah Philp 5 or 6 games at the least before Connor McDavid's back. By the end of that 5 to 6 games, it will be so apparent how much better he is than Derek Ryan. And I know you're losing a penalty kill guy, whatever, but I really do think if Noah Philp comes up, he will not go back down. Dave says, who would you send back? I think Derek Ryan's job and spot on this team is in danger.
Yeah, I think so too. And how do I word this without people diving all over me? I think Derek Ryan started the season relatively well. He had a great chance against Chicago that was stopped by Mrazek. That was a good play. And then he obviously had the goal disallowed against Calgary, if remembering correctly, right? So that would have been nice if he had been able to do that. Maybe that helps him. But last night, like you saw it on that fourth goal, Matthew Olivier goal, like he loses the puck in the corner, the puck comes in front, and it just doesn't work out for him at all. And just again, like the penalty kill has been so bad. And I know Louis said like it is something that came around last year, and totally, it definitely did. And obviously in the playoffs, it was fantastic to see. But there's even moments last season. We've seen it this year. Like I remember going to a game last year against the Minnesota Wild, and Derek Ryan had like 4 minutes of ice time in the third period and was basically only playing defensive zone draws and coming off as soon as the puck crossed the red line, sorry, and penalty killing. And he's just, I've liked Derek Ryan. I think his career has been very respectable for when he came into the league and what he did. But like you said, like you got to give these young guys a chance. And the funny thing is, like Noah Phillips not even that young. He's like 26.
Yeah.
So he's ready to go, and you got to run with it. Because like many people have said, I know Maynard is the #1 commenter on this, and rightfully so. Like the others are slow in many positions, and adding someone like Philp instead of Derek Ryan is going to be able to change that.
Absolutely. Landon is in. Oh,
Derek Ryan, not an everyday player in the NHL. He wasn't last year. Maybe spurts here or there. There's been too many games in a row. He's got to sit out.
Yeah. Landon is in $13.99 super chat. Thank you, Landon. Again, the money from these super chats is going to be going to our charity partner, which we're still working on announcing. I cannot wait until I can say it. I have faith. We got to lock in. Boys need to help out Stu. Starts in the D zone, then go score some goals. Yes, they need to be better at possessing the puck. And yes, Stuart Skinner needs to stop the easy ones. Like that is their bread and butter is Stu stops the easy ones and the team plays 65 to 75% of the game in the other team's end. And then they win hockey games. I know it's maybe oversimplifying it, but still. Lance is in $2 cup here. Hello to Lance. Welcome back, buddy. We missed your super chats.
That second goal, sorry, I would get to that if you want. I was going to say that second goal that Fantilli scored, I don't even know what happened on that. Like it was such a weird reaction from him. Like it was as if he had something else had been shot at him and he just like reacted so strange. It was such a weird goal. Like the way he even reacts after, it's so strange.
It is weird. There were a handful of weird ones last night. Just quickly, we're not going to go through every highlight last night, but our scoring summary is brought to you by our friends at Charm Diamond Centers. Check them out online, charmdiamondcenters.com. They are proudly Canadian owned and operated. And you can get a custom ring built and delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program. It all comes with their unbeatable pricing policy. Again, I walked in there and I was like, hey, I want to propose in 6 weeks. Can we get a custom ring? And they were like, 6 weeks? Are you kidding me? You're going to have it with 2 to spare. And I said, that's very alarming because holding on to this piece of jewelry for 2 weeks without my now fiance finding out scares the hell out of me. But Charm Diamond Centers absolutely came through. Your scoring summary last night, again, there's no other way to put it. They got boat raced last night. It was ugly. It was a 6-1 final. I will say, and Frank and I talked about this on Daily Faceoff Live, which if you do not watch Daily Faceoff Live, 30 minutes every day, myself and Frank Saravalli, we rip around the league. We hit on usually 4 to 6 different teams in like rapid fire style or stories. You can also get it as a podcast that gets uploaded every day too. So it's your kind of daily around the league hockey fix with myself and Frank. Oilers aside, there is a hell of a story going on in Columbus. And it is that top line with Monahan and Marchenko and Yegor Chinnikov. And the 3 of them have 28 points for the Blue Jackets. The next group of 3 best Blue Jackets has 18. Wow. They've been crazy productive. Monahan, it is also great to see him like smiling. And we obviously know he signed in Columbus to be with his boy, Johnny Gaudreau, right? Yeah. But he's making his buddies with the 2 Russians. They're calling him Sean Monahanov. To give it a little Russian spin. And Monahan said that the 2 guys, they are trying to teach him a little bit of Russian because they only speak Russian on the ice. And they even have him listening to Russian music. So they're really trying to get
probably hardcore, I would assume.
I would imagine.
That's pretty cool story.
Yeah.
You know, this even wasn't Marchenko one of those guys who would have like 20 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah.
Isn't that what he kind of was known for?
So this is his 3rd season, which is crazy. He's averaging per 82 games in his career, 27 goals. I told Frank, I was like, there is no conversation that's more annoying to me than when it's like, who's the most underrated player in the NHL? And people are still like, Barkov. And it's like, no, it's not. Slavin. No, it's not. If you pay attention to the NHL, you have known for a long time that those guys are good. But amongst the casual, everyday NHL fans, I don't think people I think Kirill Marchenko is one of the more underrated players in the league.
Yeah.
He is young. He was a second-round pick, comes with some draft pedigree, and this dude just pops 25-plus goals a season. He's done that from his rookie season on, and that's who he is. It's impressive.
It is funny, like you say, like the assumption is always, like, and even when they do those NHL polls by the players, it's never anyone who's like the
truly
second
underrated
level of player, right?
Yeah.
It's always like a star guy.
Yeah, like I love you, Jeremiah, but like
Exactly.
again, anyone who doesn't think Kyle or know Kyle Connor is good, you aren't watching other games.
He's
I like Jared McCann.
Marchenkov. Great player.
Yeah.
He's done really well.
Why
Yeah, first season, 21 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah, he started Mulik. He started his career 17 goals, 0 assists.
Oh,
Damn.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Sorry,
he scored his
one thing I wanted to say was people keep saying bring up Savoy and Phil. They cannot afford to do that. They have $1.1 million in cap space.
So again, this was the danger, like assuming McDavid is not going to need LTIR, which again is just a whole nother wrinkle salary cap wise, but assuming McDavid won't need LTIR, you can call up one guy, and Sasky said, call up 2 forwards, send a D down. And I think Mulik had that on Twitter too, like, and he's saying here, wave Dermott. Okay, so the issue is you are running close to bare bones. You can have one extra player on your roster. So if you wanted to call up both Philp and Savoy, and then that would leave another forward being healthy scratched, the concern would be if a forward gets hurt and you have a game the next day, or a forward gets hurt in warm up, or sorry, a D-man gets hurt in warm up, or a D-man is sick or gets hurt and you have a game the next day, you have to run with 5 D-men.
Yeah.
And that is very bad. 11-7 is way more manageable than 13-5. I don't think you can run the risk of ever potentially having to go into a game with 5 defensemen in your lineup. So I think you need to, again, roll with. It's not fun. And I know, again, I want our feet touched. I really want to see Matt Savoy in an Oilers jersey. But from the second they acquired him, they came out and said he's going to start in Bakersfield. They also said he was going to be a centerman in Bakersfield. I think they've rather quickly changed their tune on that. But they said he's going down to Bakersfield. They never even for a second left the door open to be like, he can earn a job at a camp. And during training camp, what'd they do? They sent him down quick.
Yeah,
he did not survive until the end, even though he was probably good enough to survive until the end.
Yeah.
They are slow playing his development. You can argue with if that's the right or wrong thing to do, sure, but they are slow playing his development. So I think expecting him to come up in the next week is, the chances of that are slim to none. It's probably going to be Philp with an outside shot at it being Hamblin.
So here's the other layer to it. We're all very aware of the others trying to accrue cap space as much as they can. And obviously this is going to throw a slight wrinkle in that. Noah Philp makes less than Savoy. So 100,000. They're probably going to look at that. And he's a better player, quite frankly, right now at the end of the day. So that's going to be a part of it. And another reason too, like I wouldn't want Dermott to be put on waivers. If he gets claimed, Josh Brown is shooting the guy up. So, hey, you want to play with fire again? Go ahead. But that is not something I'd be messing with right now. But I understand the suggestion for sure.
Liam, put your thinking cap on. Some people would argue we don't have one. Oh, there you go. Put your thinking cap on. That definitely isn't just Aaron's Atlanta Braves hat. Let's get into our Sherwood Ford giant question of the show. Hockey fans helping hockey fans with a free valet service for all nation citizens. Never visit a dealership again for car service. Plus, if you purchase a vehicle at Sherwood Ford and you're a nation citizen, you're going to get $500 towards a service plan. Here's what I love, though, about the Nation Valet service. You drive any vehicle. Doesn't have to be a Ford. You don't have to have bought it at Sherwood Ford. You can use the valet service.
Damn.
Call them right now. Say, hey, I need an oil change and I want you to pick up my car. They'll have no problem doing it for you. Hockey fans helping hockey fans. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford.
You got a hell of a look right now.
Ring. Hello, Sherwood Ford. Hello, can you pick up my truck and give me an oil change? No, I don't have a Ford. I have a Mazda. Oh, no problem. Awesome. See you soon. They're on the way.
Thanks, buddy. Okay. Your giant question. Maybe we can flash up the DFO lines if we have them, just for like a little reference. But what are you doing with the line combos now that McDavid's out? Hey, let's for our argument, let's say it is Philp coming in. Yeah. So it's Philp coming in. So I think I go. It is honestly pretty hard to decide if you want to go like Supernova or not. And here's where things do get pretty challenging. I don't want to break up the third line.
Oh, I want to break it up so bad.
Oh, but they work.
They might work, but you know what isn't working? Your top six, and they play way more. And you need that to work way more than you need your third line to work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or maybe that's just your second line.
There you go. I'm honestly, the middle six here, I'm keeping that the same. I'm keeping Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Arvidsson. I'm keeping Henrique, Skinner, and Brown. The game on Friday, I haven't had a chance to even talk about that game because I wasn't here on Monday. But I thought Vasily Podkolzin played great, and it was just a matter of the players who were on the ice with him had to get him the puck. Yeah. He was going to the right spots. He was putting himself in great positions. He almost scored first, which would have been nice for no particular reason. But I'm keeping that middle six the same. I'm moving Nuge to the middle. I am... As much as this makes me wince, and I know you guys think I hate the player, but I don't, but I'm putting Janmark on that line. I'm going Janmark, Nugent, Hyman. They are going to work hard and hopefully not make mistakes. The next two lines are going to be the lines that I hope score. I am taking Derek Ryan, who cannot keep up. I'm putting him on the wing, and I'm putting Noah Philp down the middle with Perry and Derek Ryan. It's not the sexiest thing, and I'll be honest, if I was the coach, I would probably do things a little bit differently, but that is my best guess for what the Oilers could do, and I think it's the safe play, which is the way they will ultimately lean. Nuge, Hyman, Janmark, Draisaitl, Podkolzin, Arvidsson, Henrique, Skinner, Brown, Philp, Derek Ryan, Corey Perry.
Philp, Derek Ryan, Corey Perry. I think I would just move up the Henrique and Draisaitl, just both up a line. Sure, the wingers can switch around with them too. And I would have Philp on that third line, center in Skinner and Brown.
Philp on the third line, center in Skinner and Brown. And you're moving Rico up, sorry.
Yeah, Rico would be my second line center between Nuge and Hyman, I think. And then I would move up the second line. Yeah. Or one other thing you could do is just switch Podkolzin to the left wing with Draisaitl and Hyman, do Nuge, Henrique, Arvidsson, Skinner, Philp, and Brown. I think if you're going to play Philp, I think giving Philp the opportunity to play with some guys would actually be more helpful than not. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and assume Philp plays like 6 minutes because that's what typically happens when someone comes up. But maybe in this scenario, you don't have a choice. Another layer to this, which I think is interesting. I don't think it's likely, but Arvidsson takes draws on that second unit power play. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they would ever put him in the middle.
Nah.
He played center a couple years ago. It's been a while, but like Skinner and Arvidsson have both played center. I wonder if, maybe they mix that up a little bit too, to maybe if they wanted to keep that fourth or third lines. I don't know. Maybe I know that's kind of a long shot, but I think, long story short, Hyman, Dry, Podkolzin, Nuge, Henrique, Arvidsson would be my top six. Philp, third line center.
I like that, and I will say I do like Henrique and Nuge played together a little bit last year, and they had a couple of good games. I remember liking that. Mm-hmm. So I don't hate the idea of Nuge, Henrique, Hyman. That sounds good to me. And then keep that Draisaitl line the same. Giving Noah Philp skill, I will not argue against that. Great idea. Put him in a spot where he can succeed. If you like the player, do it. I'm not holding my breath for it. I will be thrilled if it happens. I just don't think it is going to happen.
I'm with you. I think it's more unlikely than likely. I just think the way Derek Ryan's been playing, he's not really deserved to.
He doesn't
be bumped up the lineup. And
Mark, though, I think, they always tend to want to move him up. So
yeah, they do.
I do get that.
Although he's been so irrelevant. This is the problem when you have 12 forwards, is just how obviously the team is very old.
Yeah.
But actually, they're not that old. It's just Derek Ryan and Corey Perry bring up the average age so much. Like, who's the next oldest player in the top 9? I guess it would be Henrique.
Yeah.
Who's 34, going on 35. Not young by any means, but everyone else is like in their early 20s. Early 30s, late 20s. It's just those two guys, and that's why running 12 forwards is going to be sucky.
Brian, is there any cap relief if Ryan is sent down? Not really, because you have to replace him on the roster. So when we do tomorrow's show, we should have a better idea of things. Frank Saravalli is going to be on the show tomorrow as well. Any other kind of like Oilers related topics? Or have we kind of hammered everything here? We've really beaten this thing to death. Understandably so.
What would you do on the power play?
Oh, good Lord.
I would honestly run Echo. He has
Yeah.
back-to-back games of power play goals.
I'd go 2D.
I
So
would go
Nuge
to-
moves over to the McDavid role, or
I don't
I'd
think
go-
anybody goes into the McDavid
but you know
role.
what I mean.
They
Yeah.
did yesterday. Nuge was the guy who was the trailer on the break-ins, which means that he probably did say, okay, you play Connor's spot. I would go, honestly, like I'm just kind of over it, but Draisaitl, Nuge, Hyman, Ekholm, Bouchard. 5-man unit. There you go.
Yeah, I would do that too. I think Ekholm is, hey, if we want to talk about guys deserving places up the lineup as much as talking about guys deserving to go down the lineup, Ekholm probably deserves that.
Yep.
He's done well. He has points, I think, in 4 straight games.
Cash last night, the only bet I
He
hit.
did. That was my bet 365 bet of the game.
Really? Ekholm point.
Shout out you, Liam. I tailed.
Yep.
Nice.
So I'm 2-4. So I'm still winning with like a -2.
Yeah, ugly. Okay, let's wrap up the show with our Bet365 other sports report, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and you can download the app today and use the promo code NATION to get in on a huge range of markets. That's NATION Nation when you download the Bet365 app. Okay, what can we wrap up here? NFL weekend was exciting. I saw the Bills win in Seattle.
Tell us about your weekend.
It was good. So someone told me in an elevator, they were like, yeah, I heard the stadium's going to be 57% Bills fans. And I don't think it was that high.
Seattle's a well-supported team.
Oh, but it was probably 40% Bills fans in there.
Because how often do the Bills come to this side of the
NFC road game? I think it's like once every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so
But I couldn't believe how many people flew in from Buffalo. Like just in people you're talking to. So again, you kind of do the math. That stadium holds, let's call it 50,000, 20,000 fans in there were Bills fans. So that means staying around downtown, there were 20,000 Bills fans.
nice.
So like from the second we got there, we got to our hotel like 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. You walk out of a building, you're saying, go Bills, go Bills, go Bills.
Awesome.
Going to a restaurant as you're like walking to your table, hey, go Bills, go Bills, go Bills. Everyone was wearing Bills gear. It was so sick. You're like walking around the markets. Everyone is in their Bills gear. It absolutely poured rain, which was hilarious. Because like again, we were sitting there just soaking wet. I had a really funny moment. They did a flyover. You know I love flyovers. So
Okay.
I was sitting,
Everybody knows that.
I love flyovers. So I'm sitting there and I'm filming the flyover like this with a beer in my hand. And I'm filming it. And as the planes start to go over me, I just go like, whoa. And I just
Oh no.
poured beer all over my face, all over my hoodie. It was an absolute mess. So I was soaking wet before it even started raining. And the Bills just smoked them, which was so much fun.
Which was not surprising they won, but the way they won, I think. Seattle's
Bills got a couple lucky plays too, but
did they?
Seattle was beautiful. I went and watched Kraken Hurricanes
yeah.
on Saturday
What a
night.
matchup.
That was one of the most boring hockey games I've watched in a long time. It was just terrible. Also, I bet over 59.5 shots on goal because I was like, I gotta be interested in
Yeah.
something happening here. Finished with 59.
Classic.
Damn it.
Classic.
Yeah. So there you go. That was my weekend. It was really, really good.
What else has been happening? I'm going to the UFC on Saturday.
Oh yeah, it's in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our buddy Malott.
Oh, he's fighting.
He's fighting. Mike Malott?
Yeah, Mike Malott.
Yeah.
Cool. He's a good Canadian boy.
Good friend. Forgot his first name, but good guy. I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, he'll be fighting. And so yesterday, here's a little story. So yesterday was the Ballon d'Or. Did you see this?
I did. Yeah, I know what the Ballon d'Or is.
So that's, for people who don't, it is essentially the MVP of soccer, but it's not just one league; it's the world. And it was down to Vinicius Jr., who plays for Real Madrid, and Rodri, who plays for Manchester City.
Yep.
And Rodri ended up winning. Fully deserving. He's a fantastic player, but he's a midfielder, and typically they don't win. It's usually like every MVP given to the guy who's the highest scoring athlete, attacker. And it kind of got leaked before that Vinicius Jr. wasn't going to win. And the Real Madrid team just didn't show up and claimed that the award was rigged. But when you look through the statistics of it all, it's not even close. Like, he didn't deserve to win. He was like, Vinicius Jr., that is, was like the 30th highest scoring player in the world in the top 5 leagues. Like, the stats just didn't back him up at all. So I just thought it was crazy because Real Madrid won the team of the year and nobody was there to accept the award. And it was just like, I just thought it was so disrespectful to the game and the award. Like, and also too, like, Rodri is Spanish. So a bunch of guys who didn't go were Spanish on the Real Madrid team.
They
to
weren't
not
supporting
support
their
their
country.
own player, who you guys may remember, Spain won the Euros, beat England, And Rodri was their best player. He's the best player in the Premier League, all this stuff. So just really crappy.
Soft.
How about this? I, again, walk into the stadium on Sunday, went for a pre-drink, just found a little dive bar, hopped in. It was a Bolton Wanderers bar.
Really?
There was a sticker on the beer taps and like the whole, what are the odds? A random bar. We just walked in because we were like, oh, whatever. It's open. There's couple open seats at the bar because everyone was busy. And it was a Bolton Wanderers spot.
I couldn't believe that. So did
you show it to Tony?
I text my dad. And he's like, "Whoa, that's incredible!"
Because he's a Seattle sports fan.
He is a Seattle.
So what
fan,
a great little.
So did you talk to anyone about it?
No.
Anymore? No.
No.
But yeah, pretty interesting.
That's cool.
When you texted me like,
Wanderers.
all caps, I was like, "Oh, what happened? Like we are in trouble here." And then he like sent me the picture. I was like, "Oh, wow, that's very
awesome.
cool."
World
Won over the weekend, by the way.
Yes, good win for our Wanderers.
What? So quickly before we get to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
0-0. They're playing Peterborough, you guys probably remember. The Posh.
Of course.
And Bolton absolutely dominated them. Their goalie is it's like an octopus. He's making the craziest saves. 96 minute of added time. 6 minutes added time. Wanderers penalty. Bolton get a penalty shot. Obviously, Peterborough frustrated. Clear penalty. Guy dragged him down in the box. Missed the penalty. Missed the rebound. And then we just got this Greek guy. I don't even know how to say his name. Just barrels through everyone. Doesn't actually kick the ball. Just literally runs into the net and through the ball. Winner. Last kick of the game winner. 1-0 Wanderers. There you
Let's go. Wander up.
They don't ask how.
They don't ask how. It was awesome. Electric.
World Series Dodgers up 3-0 on the Yankees. I don't love either side, but I'm happy the Yankees are losing in painful ways.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are just gonna win down.
I could see the Yankees sneaking one out, but I don't think this is going to be very deep.
Don't want them to at all.
Get swept.
Yeah.
Did Fat Joe perform before the game? Who
Dude,
cares?
that was brutal.
So awkward. So awkward. Okay, tomorrow on the program, Frank Saravalli. So there's that.
Yeah,
maybe a special guest. Still working on it. And by working on it, sent a text and it has not been responded to.
That's good.
But we're working on it.
He's
We're working
special.
on it. Yeah, it'd be a good guest to have in person. So we'll maybe have a guest tomorrow. We will have Frank on. We're going to know who's getting called up. So we'll continue with the line combos discussion.
Know more McDavid.
Probably know a little bit more on McDavid. Exactly. It's a good day actually to have Frank on tomorrow. So giddy up. Giddy up. Appreciate all you guys in the YouTube chat. You were very, very good today. Love all the participation in the show. Well, would you look at that? Numbers. Some of the best numbers we've had on a live show this year. So there you go. Bad things happen. People want to tune in. Okay.
Sick game we played.
New episode of Oilers Nation Radio going to drop later this afternoon. If you're looking for more Oilers conversation, you can find that wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube as well and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We will chat tomorrow. Oil up.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.